Let's talk about Netflix jail. I talked about this on my TikTok, but both Blue Period, my most anticipated anime of this season, I've listed all 43 anime that are airing this season, and Blue Period is still probably the one I'm most confident about. Like Sunrise is airing like an original mecha called like Kyoko Senki. Netflix is airing Blue Period on weekly. And it's also going to be on Netflix. It's going to have an advanced debut on Netflix on September 25th, and then airing on its various networks October 1st, and then that begins streaming outside of Japan on October 9th with weekly new episodes. Now, that's going to piss a lot of people off because that does mean that it's not same day simulcasted. So Netflix is still a little bit behind on that. I couldn't tell you why. That's a little stupid. Now that was like, hey, that's really interesting. That's really strange. Why is that happening? And then they announced this. They announced that Komi Can't Communicate is going to air on October 21st outside of Japan, which is also really fucking late for some reason. That's a good like 3 weeks into the anime season, which might mean that Komi Can't Communicate won't be in my fall 2021 video. Now, it would be one thing for one anime to be airing weekly outside of Japan worldwide, but for 2 anime to be doing it, that is obviously a symbol from Netflix. And I think the signal from Netflix is pretty obvious. I think Netflix jail is on the way out. So why does Netflix jail exist? Netflix jail exists because Netflix has a business model that is much different than, say, Disney Plus or traditional TV. Traditional TV has limited slots to play ads, and they need you there to watch the ads. They need you physically there watching television day by day, right? Which means they, one, are going to air shows weekly so that you have some sort of loyalty to the channel, right? If they say just marathoned every episode back to back on television, then like people would just never go to the channel once the season is aired. So they try to build some sort of loyalty to the channel. Think of TV sort of like maybe going to a bar, right? Now you go to the bar maybe to buy a sandwich, but then the bar also wants to, while you're there, you might as well get a drink, you might as well get a beer, you might as well get a dessert. They're trying to make the money on the side things. And television tries to do the same thing, which is television wants to bring you in for its big ticket shows, say Game of Thrones, and then get you to stick around for other things. Sports does this as well. How many times have you watched a football game? Because, you know, I know all of you here are like normie giga chads who watch football on the regular with your frat boy friends. And they came up with an ad that was like, stick around after the game for the next episode of 24, right? They try to sell you on watching different things, so you stick around and watch the ads, right? Netflix, though, how does Netflix make its money? Netflix makes its money by you just buying a subscription. Boom. Doesn't matter whether you're watching anything or not. That doesn't matter at all. All it needs to do is get you to not get rid of your subscription. How is that different? Well, you don't need to actually physically be there. They don't have to actually do any work to get you to sit there and watch the show. All they need to actually do is make you think you're going to stick around and watch the show. And how do they do that? One, have an absurd amount of content. As much content as possible, right? Because if you know that, oh, I'm gonna be bored on a Saturday afternoon, right? If you know that Netflix is going to have an infinite amount of content that you could never get through, then you're gonna stick around through that subscription. Doesn't matter if you actually watch it. Doesn't matter if it's trash. All that matters is that it's there because you know it's gonna be there. And that's where binge culture comes from. Netflix doesn't want to say feed you shows weekly because that doesn't do anything for it. It just wants you to subscribe. And to do that, it's going to be like, hey, every few months or so, you're going to have like a 24 episode show to watch, right? And it really builds that brand loyalty, because the feeling that they've done studies that there's sort of a euphoric dopamine response after you've binged a series, that you feel like you've done something. You've obviously wasted your time, right? If you sit there and watch House of Cards, you've obviously didn't really do anything productive, but your brain, when you finish a show, actually has a dopamine response, and Netflix wants to associate that dopamine response with Netflix. So they just try and get as much shows on there as possible. Now, the thing is, in America, when it comes to anime, say Beastars airs on TV. In Japan, they have to air it weekly because, like, you're gonna, like, you got to compete with television, right? If Beastars is supposed to be a selling point for Netflix, we have to air it weekly because otherwise they'll just watch it on TV. But in America, you don't have any other choice, so why bother? First of all, they want to have the dub available, right? They want to wait to have the dub available because they know that, again, if this is their business model to just have content to binge, then having the dub available will increase the chance that people are going to do it, because normal people watch dubs. They just like having it all there, all dubbed, fully completed for you to consume. That is why Netflix Jail exists, because they want you to consume it. Turns out that might be fucking wrong, because Crunchyroll has their subscriber base is exploding. Turns out that people who watch anime almost just do nothing but watch anime, right? Now, I'm not sure if there's been like true market I'm sure they've both done market research, and I, in my heart of hearts, believe this to be true. I believe that most dedicated anime viewers only watch mostly watch only anime, meaning that if you're trying to capture this anime market, Netflix before didn't feel like it was competing with Crunchyroll, but now it realizes it is, right? And imagine the giant subscriber explosions that they get when when Attack on Titan happens, right? Attack on Titan is this giant cultural phenomenon that episode by episode was breaking the platform. Netflix wants that, and they know they're not going to have it by having the bingeable thing. So does this mean that like regular Netflix shows are going to be aired weekly? Probably not. They still believe that the binge model works, but they also recognize that when it comes to anime fans are different. Anime fans want to be caught up week to week, as long as anime air week to week in Japan. Because unfortunately, stream culture isn't as heavy in America. Like, how many people do you know actually watch cable anymore? I don't know anyone. Like, Game of Thrones is probably the very last show that Americans at large will watch on television. It's probably done. Like, Game of Thrones was without a doubt the very last show that people are going to watch at large as a culture on television. Meanwhile, in Japan, every goddamn anime is on television still. Netflix knows it can't start pushing binge culture on Japan because TV still matters there. Now, a lot of you in the Skyner are talking about Disney Plus. So the difference between Netflix and Disney Plus is that Disney Plus, their properties are cultural phenomenons, right? Marvel is a thing everybody talks with their friends about. Star Wars is something everybody talks with their friends about, right? That is different than Netflix. Disney knows that by having weekly episodes, it's creating a water cooler discussion, and that is bringing more people into Disney Plus because people don't want to be left out. It's not the same thing on Netflix. What is the last show that reached, like, in terms of cultural hegemony, reached House of Cards level? I don't know if there is. Like, Queen's Gambit, maybe? No, someone enlighten me. What shows on Netflix originals, have had the cultural clout that, like, House of Cards did? Even Amazon Prime. People talk about their shows more. They have fewer offerings, but people actually talk about their show. For some reason, Netflix is losing in that point. Akazura, did you see that they made a game based on Queen's Gambit? Oh yeah, have you guys seen this shit? This is hilarious. You guys know that that famous game that they played all the time in Queen's Gambit? They made that into a real thing. They made the board game from Queen's Gambit into a real thing. I don't know how to process this. They even have the same like pieces. Look, they have the same 16 by 16 square. And they have the same setups and everything. I gotta see what the forum discussions. There's no forum discussion. Weak. Anyway, Netflix has probably realized it is effed up. Like, they put all their money on binge culture, thinking they could basically eliminate the idea of weekly television, only for Disney Plus and even Amazon to come along and say, actually, people still want to watch stuff weekly. Now, I think that this won't actually change things for Netflix. Reason being because Netflix just stocks up on trash, right? I already explained Netflix's business model is just having so much stuff that people don't feel the need to unsubscribe, right? Or feel that Netflix is like a necessary entertainment. Like, you just have so much stuff you want to do it. Anyway, point being, if Netflix is going weekly, I think it's legitimately possible that Stone Ocean goes weekly. Now, let's talk about that real quick, right? We're going to have a little lesson in headlines here, right? When you read a headline like this, first and foremost, check where it's from. If you see an anime headline that is not from Anime News Network, fact check it. I'll repeat that. If you see an anime headline that is not from Anime News Network, fact check it. As far as I know, Anime News Network is the only English-speaking outlet that understands the anime industry and knows how to properly fact check information related to it. Okay? And I'm going to demonstrate that real quick. Anime News Network. There we go. Let's do a little quiz. Let's work through this together. Let's learn something together, okay? What is the difference between this headline? Netflix lists JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 Stone Ocean as streaming monthly. And this headline, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean will be a monthly Netflix release. Slankabot, I would not call this clickbait. This is just an example of not like doing due diligence with respect to a headline, right? If this has not been officially announced by an official channel that Netflix is announcing monthly, right, you all got it. You all got it. Great job. This one, because this is from a video game website, so they don't necessarily understand the anime industry as well. Details from Netflix Media Center page revealed JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean will be a monthly release on the streaming platform. Anime News Network understands that when it comes to anime and overseas companies, they somehow don't get things correct a lot of the time. And in both instances, the actual report is correct. They actually both cite the same person on Twitter. So here's the Netflix Media Center where it says Stone Ocean is releasing monthly. They would have said so if that was like for sure what's happening. They would have come out and said, oh yeah, sure, we're releasing monthly. As far as I see it, this is probably a miscommunication. It could be true, but I think it's far more likely to be a miscommunication. It's possible that they could be doing like releasing an arc every month, but a lot of people are pointing to Great Pretender as an example of a show in which they released blocks, right? Like this, right? It would make sense if they released like 4 episodes a month. Considering I'm almost sure they're very behind in production, that makes sense. The difference with Great Pretender is each part that they released was like a different arc. You can't guarantee that each arc in JoJo is going to be a clean 4 episodes every time. So it's far more likely this is a miscommunication and we don't know. However, if Netflix has gone balls to the wall with completely throwing out the idea of Netflix jail, at least for Komi Can't Communicate and Blue Period, I put my money on weekly release being very possible. Now, there's a caveat there. Now, what's the caveat? What is the caveat there? We know that JoJo is airing on television in Japan in January. But for both Blue Period and Komi Can't Communicate, there was a very interesting piece of information. They're airing about a week before it airs on television. So they announced that it's airing in December, and also all these other Netflix anime are debuting on Netflix about a week before TV. I think all of the pieces are in place for JoJo Part 6 Stone Ocean to release weekly on Netflix. And I'm not going to put my money on it because the whole thing with it saying it was monthly is convincing. But I do think it's a very, very, very big possibility now.